Welcome to SHIP Region 5 SHPEtinas virtual conference series, a conference to inspire, empower, and educate women in STEM. We had 8 fantastic speakers, and we are so excited to share their sessions on our channel. We hope you enjoy. Our third speakers are Ms. Samantha Corriero and Mr. Luis Otero. Samantha is a former AP teacher at a prep school for girls where she used insights from her time in the classroom as motivation to develop a platform to help former students find their voice and overcome personal barriers. Samantha currently serves as a systems engineer at the Boeing Company in Oklahoma. Corriero earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in philosophy from the University of Texas at El Paso, then later returned for her Master of Science degree in systems engineering. Additionally, Corriero has been honored with the National Community Service Award by SHIP and the Presidential Volunteer Service Award for Community Service. Luis is a structural analysis engineer at the Boeing Company, where he graduated from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University with a BS in Aerospace Engineering. Luis has been involved with SHIP since his freshman year as a junior SHIP chapter chair for Embry-Riddle Student Chapter. There, Luis helped found the first Embry-Riddle Junior SHIP chapter. Additionally, Luis has served as Vice President in 2016 and President in 2017, where he was honored with SHIP Region 7 Star Leader Award. Currently, Luis serves as the President of the SHIP Oklahoma City Professional Chapter. And we hope you enjoy their session as they talk about adapting a conversational capacity in an action driver industry.
Birchman framework. Some of you guys have been familiar with some of these. There's just so many. So when I took this test, while I was taking a graduate class at Georgetown, I took the strength, the DISC, and the Birchman, and I've found myself in this area. So I'm a blue-green, so I'm a thinker and a feeler. And it even broke it down to my conflict. So when I'm in conflict, I'm a thinker. And then when it goes extreme, I'm a red. So I become very action. So it's really surprising when people see me in this area. So I have to be a little bit more cognizant of that. And maybe some of you guys will also kind of go through that as well. I got this through the Harvard Business Review. So these are the different sort of personalities, very similar to these. And I can provide these resources I can give them when I give out the website, the slides. So each of these personality types are going to shape on how you do communicate. And when we were put in this class, it was really interesting. They put all the people that were similar personality types. So they put all the reds together, all the greens, all the blues, and all the blue-greens. And anyways, when they did that, I noticed that there was like less action that was happening. It was actually very difficult it was easy to go, to work together, but in the sense that there was no sort of dynamic environment. And when they put us back in a dynamic environment, I noticed like the importance of a red personality type, the importance of a green, and the importance of a blue. And in engineering, working at Lockheed and working at Boeing, we work in collaborative environments. And these are people that you're going to spend 40 hours a week with. And these are people that you're going to end up spending the next 5 to 10 years with. So yeah, you're just going to have to learn how to adapt to some different communication styles. I think initially when I came into the defense industry, I would take it very personal. And I've realized that with time and experience, sometimes it's just better to adapt your communication style to different people. That has been a very difficult lesson for me because I like to be authentic and I like to be straight with people. But sometimes you even being authentic and straight, you're not communicating with somebody that might not be listening or getting direction. So I'm sorry, is there any questions about personalities before I go on to the communication styles? All right. So the first one, the direct communication style. So direct communication style, I've noticed that it tends to be in the military mindset. So also it tends to be with engineers and people in the business environment. Um, they tend to be just, down to business and low expressiveness. This is also a common communication style I notice in the city. So going from Dallas, Fort Worth, a major metroplex, and then coming to Oklahoma City, I found myself being too direct, and I didn't even realize that. And then even working at Lockheed Martin with the fighter jet community, there is a different sort of personality. So currently I work on the bombers program, and even within the different, depending on who your customer is, depends on what sort of communication style is going to be acceptable. So a direct communication style may not necessarily be as acceptable in a bomber community or a heavy community culture. So these are some of the strengths you guys, can see. They're direct, they're loud, they're usually, you will know a lot of many different direct communicators. I'm sure if you guys think of some of them in your engineering school as well. So some of the trouble spots is, yep, they're definitely impatient. They really don't care to know a lot about you. And I've noticed also with the red personalities traits that I experienced at Georgetown, a lot of them kind of come off as people that you feel like you're a pawn in their game. And so I don't know if that makes sense to some of you guys, but you just feel like you're a piece in their game. And so this is the hardest personality type for me. And I've noticed when we broke down to the blue green, I tend to think that they're rude. I tend to think that they're opportunistic, which is against me as a thinker feeler. So, but some of you guys might think that, well, she's too much of a feeler, she's too much of a thinker. And so again, it just goes back to adapting your communication style. Not to mean that these people aren't bad people. It's a different way. So, does anybody have questions about these two, the strengths and the weaknesses before I go to the scenario? All right. Well, Luis is going to act out a scenario, so I'm actually going to need a volunteer. Does somebody want to? I'll have Catherine pick someone that has raised their hand to participate in this scenario.
Okay, great. So yeah, please raise your hand if you would like to participate. If not, we could pick.
I can help, Kat.
Okay, sounds great. Okay,
I can see the raised hands.
That's okay. So we have Reina. There's going to be more scenarios throughout, so you will be the next one. But yeah, go ahead, Steph.
Okay, so this is the scenario. So Luis is a former military veteran. You got a project delay and he's wanting something by the end of the week. You, on the other hand, your parents you had told him before that your parents were coming into town to visit you and they haven't seen you in a long time. But he wants you to work overtime and wants a status. So Luis, go ahead and start acting.
Okay, I'm getting into my personal. Give me a second. Stefan, I have been looking for you. How is the proposal coming along?
Yeah, I've been working on it. I think I'll have it done by Friday for you.
Well, right now we are behind schedule, and our customer meeting pretty much is gonna be this Thursday. So I need you to pretty much work overtime tomorrow. We need this done by the customer meeting.
Ooh. Well, sir, I had told you that I have my family coming in this weekend. I gave you advance notice about this. So really, I can't have it for you until Friday.
I'm sorry, Steph, but we have responsibility with our customer, and I'm in the office this Thursday overtime, so we can actually complete this task.
Let's see if someone else in our team could, pull some weight and get that report to you.
Very good. No, that's good. Okay, so one thing, aplauso. Okay, so Luis, aplauso too. So, oh my goodness, you did a great job of providing an action. So these people are very result driven, and these type of male engineers, they are usually forgetful, and they don't like small talk. And what you did beautifully was giving them actions, like results. So they were telling you the situation and you were giving them a solution. And that's exactly how they operate. So like you can't be like, but my mom, they're coming in, like he's not going to care. So you just got to provide a solution. Say, hey, I can do this Monday. And he says, nope, can't do this Monday. And then you said, hey, actually I can get somebody else on the team that can do this. I know that Bob is able to do this. And so you provided a result. So that is brilliant. So that was a great way to handle somebody that's action driven. So let's go back to kind of the situation. So yeah, usually there's no reason for you to say something like, but Stephanie, she got to take the time off, and why don't I get the chance? Like, wouldn't work for him. You do not, yeah, he's gonna be impatient if you don't give him an action right then and there. So you can say to him, hey, if you don't know what to say at that exact moment, you can say, hey, let me get back to you. And then you got to get back to him within like 5 minutes, and then provide a solution. So yeah, these people, you just got to get to the point, and you did a beautiful job. So thank you. Is there any, I guess, does anybody else have any feedback about dealing with these sort of direct communicators?
I think Sarah had a question. Sarah, is that why your hand was up?
No, I don't have a question. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I wanted to say something real quick.
Mhm.
Because I work in the defense industry as well, and like this situation has happened to me before, like similar, and it's like so true. Everything that Samantha was saying is so true. They're so direct. They don't care. They don't like make small talk. So as someone who's like a feeler and all of that stuff, it was hard to adjust to that. But I mean, I got used to it. But it's so true. Like they're just like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, no, you're very true. Thank you for that feedback. And I mean, I guess, working with the defense industry, you are going to be working with a lot of former military veterans. And if you think about it, they've been programmed like this for minimum 6 years. They've been in this sort of way. And yeah, so yeah, it's just something that you guys have to adjust to your personality type too. Another thing that also helps is sometimes, so there's a difference between being direct and harassment, right? So harassment and, is they're belittling you, they're coercing you, and obviously that should go to HR, or, you go to somebody else. But I've also found another good thing to help with these type of personalities is finding a male ally. So I've found that sometimes I sound whiny and they won't listen to me. So I've had to get male engineers who would speak for me. So if I had, a deadline that was needed or I needed help on something, I would rely on my male engineers to kind of speak for me. But I think I think I've been now 8 years in the industry, the defense industry, and I will say that I think I could have done that as a level 1, level 2, but now as a level 3 senior engineer, I'm having to defend myself. So you can, go get somebody else to help you, but eventually you're going to have to face conflict. But Rosie Puga is phenomenal on it, so stay tuned. But thank you again. I'm going to go to the next scenario, which is the considerate communication style. Whew. So considerate communication style. So this is a little bit, I'm a mixture of considerate and systematic. So usually these people, they value relationships like a lot of us ladies do. Yeah, you can see some of the strengths. I think a lot about, so my sister's a pharmacist and her husband is an ER doctor, and they're very good with bedside manner, but sometimes it can be, which goes to the weakness. Sometimes it can be too much. Like sometimes I feel like I'm in a doctor's office with them and they're just like, they don't really give me this, what they're thinking, specifically my sister. Um, yeah, whenever I've tried to give an advice, they'll just say, "Oh yeah, thank you." And then, you know, they didn't even consider my viewpoint. They tend to, you don't know how to read them because they're all about, considerate of others. And so obviously there's a strength, right? They're relationship based, they're easy to talk to, right? But at the same time, you don't know how to read them and they don't want to deal with conflict. So I think about people that sometimes you see something wrong that's happening and they're just kind of like bystanders. And you're like, oh my goodness. So this, which leads me to the next scenario. So we're going to have a scenario. So I'm going to need a volunteer for the considerate.
I believe Reina volunteered for the last time, so she's going to be the one for this one.
Okay, thank you, Reina. All right, so the situation, so Luis is a technical lead. He is introverted and he really hates conflict. He's got a big heart and he's been telling you, so he's 10 years over you and he's been telling you that, another coworker is taking credit for his work and he doesn't want to tell the boss. And now you're noticing that the other engineer is taking credit for his work and now your work. So, Luis, you're going to go ahead and act, and then Reina, you'll respond.
Hey, Reina. I have to tell you something. The senior engineer had pretty much like work that I was doing like last week.
Sorry, you cut off a little bit. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Reina. I wanted to talk to you about something. In the previous presentation, I realized that our senior engineer was actually using work that I did. And also I saw some information that you were working in and he didn't reference it.
Yeah, I noticed that too. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I personally don't like, I don't want to say anything, but there's a lot of people that will say that we need to talk to the manager. I don't know. What do you think?
So I think we should definitely gather some facts in order to prove that he's taking credit of our work. And we can find someone that we can trust to know that they will understand that this is our work. And perhaps we could take that up to someone who is who can take an action on that and help us out. What do you think?
But I just don't want to, like, have this in trouble. Like I know that it's not a correct thing to do, but I just want to avoid the conflict, like I don't want to report this and then, he's going to think that we are against him or something like that.
I know it's a tough situation, but I think in this case, since you put a lot of hard work into this, and you should value yourself as your and your skills, and if we take the right steps, I'm sure something good will come out from this, and we will get the validation we need. I will be there with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. No, that's great. Great way to do it. Aplauso, Reina. Yeah, I like that you're sticking to the facts and you kind of stopped the gossip, right? And then you're trying to convince him to go to someone else. So take this with a grain of salt, what I'm saying. But sometimes I feel that when you have engineers that are 10 years over you, 10 years older than you, I'm sometimes questionable if they're trying to use you as a pawn. So sometimes you got to be aware as a person that sometimes, like, yes, they can be really nice and they are compared as conflict, but they're used to kind of what I was saying earlier. Like I don't like conflict, so I'll usually go to someone else to go do the conflict for me. But since this person is more senior than you and this person is older than you, you have to help them so that they can own the conflict. Because then sometimes, I don't know, a lot of you ladies have had different experiences. Sometimes you will end up being the, oh yeah, you're right, Reina. And then the person can, because the person avoids conflict, then they say, I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know. No, I don't have a problem with Bob. And then you look like the bad person. So I'm not to say that all considerate communication style communicators are like that, but you got to be careful because you work in cubicles, right? And you're working in a short area. So just be cognizant that if you're helping someone, that you're not putting yourself in a situation that they put it on you. But I think it's great sometimes as ladies, you'll notice that there's going to be a lot of introverted male engineers that are sensitive, and they're going to come to you for advice like this, and you have to help them along to address and kind of battle their fears of conflict. Does anybody have any feedback on the considerate communication style?
I do have a comment. I was trying to actually write it down, but I have a hard time putting the words together. But another approach that could potentially be used is, for instance, if someone is using someone else's work and you are aware of that, sometimes going into the conflict as, hey, I think it's better off to have me as a reference because I'm the one that did the work, right? So whoever did the project, whoever did the presentation, knows better on how to approach the problem. So that might be another approach to take.
Yeah, that's really good. I really liked that also, Reina, that you were really considerate of the person's feelings and you were willing to kind of go where the person was at and to get him to confront, right? So thank you for that. All right, any other comments before we go to the next communication style? Thank you, Luis. All right, so the spirited communication style. I think this is actually very common in our culture. I think that we're very highly expressive people, highly assertive people. So I can think of a lot of people. We tend to be loud, very animated. Look at all of these. These are a lot of us, a lot of people that I can think about that I went to school at UTEP with. Yeah, they're great storytellers. They're super funny. They're always making you laugh. They're super charismatic. They're kind of like the person that everybody wants to be around. Um, they they're really good at, since they're very charismatic, they have a lot of friendships and a huge network. So um, some of the weaknesses of it though is, yeah, they tend to exaggerate. They can be over dramatic. They don't do well with criticism. And so when I think about the spirited communicators, I think a lot of the business people. So like the program managers, the financial analysts. I think of people who work in startups, entrepreneur types, are usually the ones that I think about in the spirited style. So we're going to go to our next scenario. So if Catherine can get me another volunteer.
Okay, if you would like to volunteer, please raise your hand. If not, I could choose somebody.
Okay.
Maybe one of our amazing facilitators. What about Samantha Banda?
Okay, Samantha Banda. Woo! Okay. So, all right, your manager, Luis. Oh, I've seen Omar's face. Omar is like snickering, but he knows that this has happened. I mean, no, this has never happened, right? In a male-dominated industry, never. Okay, so Luis is a manager. He's connected with all the guys on your team and super charismatic, and all the dudes decided to go to Hooters. And so he's talking about going to Hooters with another male engineer, and they're talking right next to your cubicle, and they're talking about the women, how they got one of their numbers, and you are a level 1 engineer, and there is another more senior engineer next. You're just a level 1 engineer, and so he's sharing his thoughts. All right, Luis, are you ready for this acting scenario? And Samantha, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, Luis, let's go.
Hey, Brian, thank you for last Friday. Man, like we went to Hooters with like the entire team and it was very great. We met this server that she was so high and I would have hired her on the spot if she would have had like a technical degree, man. Like she was so beautiful, like young, and she treated us so well that perhaps we should actually hire her so she can like light the place a little.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you guys' conversation, but I understand if you're joking around. I just want to let you know that that comment kind of makes me uncomfortable.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's just like I am like very active and I was so excited about this. So yeah, like I apologize. I am so sorry. It was just like, talking with the boys. Sorry for that.
That's fine, but I think you should leave those comments outside of the workplace.
Bravo, bravo. Yeah. So yeah. I had a situation like this happen to me, and manager was actually a red personality type and a spirited communicator, and I was not there for the situation. So when the level 1 did what Samantha did, he actually got defensive and was like, well, why are you being like such a prude? Like, and he started arguing with her based on his political philosophies. And so what she did is she just walked away, and she didn't engage. She didn't engage with the personality. She didn't engage with him, and she just ended up telling a more senior engineer the situation. And so, yeah, that is what you would call, yeah, sexual harassment. This is definitely something that is reportable. And you should be able to have your public space be free of this, right? And so if you're uncomfortable, and I guess like I have to say like I don't know, maybe other girls can tell me their experiences, but like I try to be one of the guys, but at the same time, I don't want to be that woman that's like the feminist that's like constantly raising my hand. So I've just kind of learned to pick and choose my battles. And yeah, I don't know. I'm interested in seeing how do other people handle this situation?
I actually have a comment to say because I feel like it's easier sometimes to, I guess like right now I feel confident, but I've been in situations in real life where they're talking that way and it's making me really, really uncomfortable. So I think something that helped me out is that a lot of times that I would go through, it actually happened during my internship where I was kind of facing a situation like that. And it was about me and one of my girlfriends, well, another intern that was there, she was also an electrical engineer. She was there and she stepped up for me. So she said, I don't think you should be talking about her that way or making comments, even if it's joke. So I think even if you might see that there's another girl, but well, I mean, it could happen with anyone, even if it's a guy. But between girls, I feel like stepping up and being like, hey, well, if there's a scenario, tell me where it is, and I'll be there, and I'll step up for you, so they know, hey, well, I'm gonna speak up for her if she's not in a situation where she wants to get like uncomfortable, I guess. So yeah, I know that helped me out a lot, and just seeing her be like, hey, like you shouldn't do that again, and like I'll be here if you do it. I feel like that's so it's good to support. Yeah, like Nicole said, girls supporting girls. So yeah, that's my comment.
Something that I will add, sorry, Sam, to this is that so whenever like I was looking at this scenario, whenever Sam and I we were actually talking about like this presentation, so I pretty much like felt a little bit nervous on this because I consider myself an spirited like communication style. So like I'm a person that I'm a very active, like the people that are around me, like I like to motivate them, like talk about like the stuff that we did during the week, like things like that. And then whenever we come to like this type of situation, like I know that this happens because I have seen it with my own eyes and I have done something about it. When I have seen like situations like this happen. But yeah, whenever like when Sam was telling me to like like act this scenario, like it was difficult for me because like this is my communication style, and then at the same time, you have your group of people around you, but then sometimes you actually have to like measure what you say. And and this is not only about like having females or like women around you, it's also about having like males or pretty much any type of like person around you that pretty much do you need to be careful with what you say. And I personally, a lot of times in the bad way, I have had to learn that not that I'm like saying bad stuff about people, but sometimes whenever like I get excited, I can like talk too loud, and then people look at me like, yo, like turn it down a little bit, like things like that. So like, it was a little bit difficult, but like at the same time, like I agree with everything that pretty much everybody here has been saying. And yeah, like it is a hard like situation to find, but it is good that we are able to talk about this here because it happens everywhere. Like maybe a lot of people here has experimented this, maybe some haven't, and I hope that you don't experiment this types of situation. But yeah, it is always good to be prepared and be sure of what you should be doing in situations like this. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was gonna say, I think, either snipping it in the butt right away or just saying like, did you just say you were gonna hire a Hooters waitress? Like, you just asking what they said, so using their own words against them. So yeah, I think that's also helped, like when I've worked with spirited communicators, because they tend to exaggerate. So when you use their own words against them, that tends to be a good way, good way to keep them back to earth. So yeah, but Does anybody else have any other comments about the spirited communication style? And thank you, Luis, for your feedback, and thank you to everyone for acting and participating.
Yes, I know Sarah had a comment, or her hand was raised.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I used to be a teacher as well, and now I'm doing my engineering degree. And so in my experience, when these kinds of things have happened and you respond in a way that, you know, your integrity pushes you to respond, there are social consequences, or there are consequences that you experience with like different opportunities. Like essentially it just ends up being like, oh, you know, she's not cool. So like you mentioned, like being one of the guys and like being included, but that ends up taking away like professional opportunity. It can take away professional opportunity for you.
Yes.
And so, or even like awards or like things like that you could be up for and that you definitely deserve, but somebody gets it over you because it's, you know, you're not one of them or whatever.
Exactly.
And so my response to that just kind of ended up being, like you said, like, well, pick your battles and then just like kind of like ni modo, like I guess I just have to live with that. And because I need to be able to live with myself, I can't just, you know, be that. So like I wonder what your thoughts are on that. Is it just like ni modo, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like so I've actually like had to talk to other women about this, and because I've experienced this situation, and I think part of it is it's like a fine line. So do you say something or you don't say something? Because like I know some women will say like, no, you shouldn't deal with it. But then if you're dealing with a culture that's very male, and this is kind of like they do what they call locker room talk, I say as long as you don't put yourself like, if you don't go to Hooters with them, because then you're allowing them to have a mental orgy on you and you're giving them permission. And so I think like, okay, fine, you're gonna say that stuff in the public forum, but I know now I'm not gonna go, if I'm gonna go to a happy hour, I know that you're gross, you're grosero, you guys, you know, so I'm gonna just kind of, you know, have my one little beer, my little wine, and adios, bye, and just kind of do the first 15 minutes and get out. But you kind of, it's like, because I don't know, I mean, it's hard because when you're working with a lot of, like this is apparent, like this stuff, it's, yeah. And so if you're seen too much as too sensitive, then they right away oust you and they're like, oh yeah, she's HR crazy. Like, and then you're losing those opportunities. So I guess you kind of have to know what are your core values. And gosh, there's so many other girls that are here on this line that work in the defense industry and that work in male-dominated engineering companies. So I'd love to hear your insight. But my insight is just, you know, you got to pick and choose your battles. And if they're saying that sort of stuff, like you just know, like, okay, well, that guy is kind of gross. Don't go to Hooters with them, and don't if you're gonna go to a bar like with them, like a happy hour, like just make it quick. Don't stay there a long time, because then I've made it that I allowed it, and then I ended up getting, I opened up that can of worms, and then it led to um a senior manager like rubbing my back like at a happy hour. So it can escalate, but you have to set those psychological boundaries. And yeah, I mean, I would love to hear other people's insights because I still struggle with this as well.
Yeah, I wanted to add that the power of a face, that you make your facial expression, is like, it's really powerful. I remember people would get inappropriate and I would look at them and be like, and you could tell they're ready to cross a line. And as soon as you just make a face, like a disgusted face, and they immediately stop because they know what they're doing. A lot of the time they know they're I mean, in like my situation, I know they wanted to get a reaction out of me, and my reaction was like a face. and they're just like, okay, full stop, we're not going to keep going, or they try to laugh it off, and I just be like, okay, like make them seem like they're the crazy one because they know
Yeah.
what they're doing.
No, very good feedback. You're right. Our facial expressions, a lot of us have big eyes. And so, that's another thing I wanted to say. I never realized how expressive our eyes are compared to other ethnicities. I didn't notice that I roll my eyes sometimes. And so, with this spirited communication style, like I communicate a lot with my hands, and I had to tone that down. I had to tone down the eyes. I had to tone down that. But you're right. It can be used as a strength. So you can use your eyes or, yeah, use their own words against them. Um, any other feedback? Thank you for that.
Yeah, Ms. Rosa, did you have something you'd like to add?
Yeah, I actually did. So going back to the role playing that was done this last segment, we had Samantha, the volunteer, right, have a response, and I just wanted to provide input on that. When she responded, she put that's fine, but, right? So you actually never want to say that's fine, because they could be hearing the that's fine, and then they could kind of be ignoring what's said after that. So just make sure the words you choose are specific to what you really want to convey to them, because they might be hearing only a portion of what you're saying, or want to absorb a portion of what you're saying. Oh, she initially said that's fine. So just make sure, you convey it very clearly, and that'll help mitigate, things reoccurring some of the times.
Yeah, thank you, Rosie. All right, we're going to go on to the next scenario, which is our systematic communication style. So this communication style tends to be your senior managers, your directors. I think of surgeons, I think of professors. These people tend to be very big picture, and they're kind of like, you can't really read them. They're hard to read. But they're very precise, and they definitely don't like to have any sort of personal discussions. So like if you go to them and you say, hey, I was, senior manager touched my back inappropriately, like you kind of ruffle them up, and they kind of like, they keep it to the facts, and it's, yeah. So and another thing is that they tend to focus too much on details. So this is another communication style that's really important in our industry, to be able to communicate with. So yeah, as you guys can see, like they have a poker face. They are very controlled, and I'm sure you guys can think of some people in your brain about this communication style. So let's go ahead and get a volunteer for Luis. Let's see. So this is a scenario. So Luis is an executive, and Luis is now your executive advisor for your SHP professional chapter, and he only has 30 minutes with you. So you only have 30 minutes to kind of tell him, what are the plans and what is going on with the professional chapter. So whoever the person is going to be volunteering, you're new engineer, you're the new president of the chapter, and you're going to be presenting to him. So let's go ahead and get some volunteers, or one volunteer.
We have Angelica. She volunteered in the chat.
Yay, thank you, Angelica. All right, Luis, you ready, Mr. Executive?
Well, I don't have a good poker face, so I can not a poker face right now, but I'll try my best on this.
Or wait, I think I see, you know what, to change it up, is James on the line? James Neri?
Yes,
No,
I'm here saying.
Okay, James. James, can you be an executive?
Sure.
Nope.
All right. All right. Yeah. All right. So James is going to be the executive, and let's go ahead and act it out. All right, go ahead, James.
Okay, so I'm your executive advisor for the Professional chapter. Angelica, give me a brief on what your SMART goals are for this upcoming SHIP fiscal year, some accomplishments and highlights that you've done for past events, and what do you have upcoming? Are there any support needed or lessons learned that you have for me that we can help out with for this year?
Okay, so for next year, 2021, we have identified some weak spots that in the 2020 year. And I think some of them are related to the type of support that we're going to provide now that we're all in a work and home environment. So for instance, some of the initiatives that we had last year, we're having seminars with interns and having support with different organizations. And what we've learned so far is that we need to really put time into developing material and providing different topics to different people, and having also sending them the feedback requests so that we know what type of problems we need to what type of problems, what are the topics they are actually interested in for next year. So for next year, what we're looking at is tackling those specific topics and those specific ways of doing things so that we're more effective in our engagement. And some of the support that we're gonna need is we're gonna need some names so that we can have actual people that can speak on behalf of other executives on their experiences on these specific topics.
Okay, that sounds great. Send us a report and let us know. Start to pencil in dates and tell us exactly what type of speakers you're looking for, what the requirements, what type of topics you want to promote, and then make sure you get the events and meetings on our calendar as soon as possible, because our calendar starts filling up at least 6 months in advance.
Yeah, that was actually a follow-up question. If there's a timeline that you would recommend me to go and fill that for just for us to be prepared for next year.
Yeah, make sure you get the meetings on our calendar at least 3 months in advance.
Perfect. And then I will send you that report along with some action items that we'll need your support on for different departments.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Awesome. Thank you, impromptu executive James.
You're welcome, Sam. For calling me out.
That's okay. Luis, thank you as well. Everyone, thank you. So yeah. So let's go back to what happened with the systematics. So, yeah, like executives, they don't care too much about the details, like the fine tune of your event. Like they just want to know what's the big picture, what's the plan by the fiscal year. Some of them want to know by quarter. Some of them they're all big on stats and numbers. So how many events did you promote last year? So if you promoted 5 events last year and then you're promoting 10, so you always want to have your stats compared to the year before. And you want to, another thing I would add is always add your company's logo value when you're talking to them. So like at the Boeing company, we have this thing called enduring values. So then, you know, what we're doing, we're focusing, we're aligning with enduring values, code of conduct. I think Lockheed's is cultural accountability. So you always, when you're talking to them, you know, whatever the company slogan is, you know, you always want to insert that. You always want to always plan out for the year when you talk to them. And usually you will only have 30 minutes with them. So you have to be prepared. So does anybody have any questions or comments for the systematic communication style? Okay. All right. Well, I am so happy that everyone is able to participate, and it's 1:42. So this is one thing that was really helpful in this class at Georgetown. So I never realized this, and maybe some of you guys have also had a similar experience. So growing up on the border in El Paso, my English and my Spanish are not good, and my English is not as thorough in the sense that I didn't write really strong emails, where I realized that it's such a huge part. Like if you think about, you know, English culture, you know, you think about the development of economics, like diplomacy has come out of UK, out of Great Britain, England. And so there's a lot of focus on the verbal, and so your emails. And I was always wondering, I'm like, how do these people write these long emails? You know, how do they get like this? And so I thought this was like a really good like outline. And so I can send this. But you know, you basically want to have your subject, and then you break it down like, you know, what are you trying to do? Like, what's your recommendation? And then you want 2 to 4 rationales, and what do you want? What do you want your result? And then what's your next step? And so this helped me with writing my emails so that they came out more concise and precise. And I noticed that people were more responsive, where I think sometimes we're so, you know, heavy with our text messages that we forget that this is something that is very valuable. Gosh, and Rosie's a beautiful email writer. And I think it just comes with it. It just comes with time. So this is just an extra thing that I wanted to add and talk about, aside from the communication style. I will be adding more resources to this, but this concludes the presentation, and so I'm open to any sort of questions and answers for.
Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to continue staying updated with SHIP Region 5, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Stay connected by following us on all our social media. Our Instagram is at SHIPRegion5, our Facebook is at SHIP.Region5, our Twitter is at SHIP_Region5. We hope you could join us live for the second part of our SHPEtinas series. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.